that's just me. We're now joined by John Hoover, Sports Animal Tulsa, also SISooners.com, with us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Was it the swab? What was the test, John?
It was the gentle swab. She whipped out 2 sticks, and I was like, "Oh my God!" And she goes, did the first one. I'm like, "That's it? You're not gonna jab my brain today?" So quick test. Glad to report no flu, no COVID, just a little cold.
Good.
Ready to roar.
All right. Well, then we'll keep you on the segment because otherwise you can get it over the phone. Now, John, obviously the Caleb Williams story, was this unexpected that it happened? And how quickly was Dillon Gabriels' decision, because now Oklahoma knows that Caleb's not looking at coming back, that he's gone?
Not unexpected at all, Smokey. It was very expected. We had a story ready to go, for when the news broke. So just a matter of time with Caleb, listening to his dad talk. I've exchanged a few text messages and DMs with him. It was something that they've been looking at since Lincoln Riley left. And he wanted to put the 2021 season behind him, academically, get the semester over with, finish his first semester of college, his first year of college. I guess he was here last spring. But he wanted to finish as a student, carry the team through the bowl game, whatever bowl game they were in, and then he was going to start looking at his future. I knew all that. What I didn't know was that Dillon Gabriel was going to transfer to UCLA from UCF and then transfer from UCLA to Oklahoma. He never actually technically transferred to UCLA, so he's eligible to with that 1-year transfer waiver. He's at one-time transfer waiver. He's eligible to play because school started at UCLA apparently today. So never got going in class, never became a student athlete at UCLA. The timing of this thing is all weird because it's like they were communicating or something. It's like that they were getting together and exchanging notes or something. It's just really odd, but at least Dillon Gabriel gives Oklahoma a little bit of good news in, I'm not going to say it's a dark time for OU fans. They think the program is headed in the right direction, trending up. What I'm going to say, the way I would characterize it is it's heading in a different direction. We have to wait and see if it's the right direction or if it actually is trending up.
John, does Dillon Gabriel completely negate Caleb Williams coming back?
No, I don't think so. I think it's another indicator that he's probably not coming back. But here's the deal. He told Lincoln Riley, hey, when he was still being recruited back in, December of 2019, hey, if you want to offer this Brock Vandegrift kid from Georgia, that's fine with me. I want to come to Oklahoma and play for Lincoln Riley. I'll even walk on to do that. That's been what his dad said. That's been what he talked about. Lincoln Riley talked about it. So we have to believe that that's the case. Everybody has said, all the parties in particular have said that it happened. So if he's going to do that, if he is so bold and so confident in his abilities that he's going to walk on, quote unquote, at Oklahoma. He didn't, of course. Brock Vandegrift went to Georgia, and Lincoln Riley offered the scholarship to Caleb Williams, so that worked out. But if he's bold enough to do that, when Spencer Rattler is returning from an all Big 12 type of season, Cotton Bowl MVP, preseason front runner for the Heisman, all that stuff, he's willing to do that while Spencer Rattler's here. I'm pretty sure he's not afraid of Dillon Gabriel. You know what I mean? He's confident enough that if he thinks Oklahoma is the best place for him, whether Dillon Gabriel's on the roster or not, then he would come back to Oklahoma. If not, I think he would probably leave, obviously, without a second thought. That's the thing about the transfer portal. It doesn't mean you're leaving, but it just means you're thinking about every possible way that you can leave. So that's where Caleb Williams is right now.
John, saw where Mario Williams entered his name into the transfer portal. How many is that, like 50 guys now from Oklahoma that have done so or declared for the NFL draft in like the last 10 days?
It's a lot for sure. They've had, I think, 12 guys either opt out of the bowl game, declare for the draft, or just leave the team with eligibility. One of them, a 3-year starter at safety, is going to go to Stanford. but he's going on a master's degree scholarship. He's going to take that. He was one of the Campbell Award finalists, so he's going to take that money and go to get his second master's degree. So that's something that there's 12 guys total. And then there's guys now that are hitting the transfer portal. There's been 3 on offense, Rattler and Stogner, guys like that, Jaden Hazelwood to Arkansas. And now we're starting to see some more offensive guys, and I think this won't be even close to the last of it. Everybody's getting a win, basically. Mario Williams has said for 2 years that he wanted to catch passes from Caleb Williams, and he couldn't wait to get to Oklahoma to play with Caleb Williams. Caleb hits the transfer portal the very next day, not even 24 hours later. Mario's in the transfer portal. So that shows you right there that the guys are looking around. They're reading the tea leaves, so to speak, seeing which way the wind is blowing. And you're seeing guys jump in the portal. So it's smart business, again, to cover your bases and see what's out there for you, see who, what other schools maybe recruited you out of high school. Maybe they're still interested. Maybe some other people have been impressed. Maybe they're going to put together a nice NIL deal. Who knows? But that's what kids are doing nowadays. They're sticking their name in the portal, jumping in there and seeing what's around, taking a look around, seeing what's out there. And from there, that's where they're going to make their decision from, rather than 100% leaving. Because Oklahoma's already had 2 guys in the transfer portal this offseason that took their name out of the portal and decided to stay. Now, of course, they have the freedom to go back in at any time. Transfer portal has made this a weird sport to cover, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, and we've spent a lot of the first hour, obviously, John, discussing it. And some of us, Craig has mentioned, maybe there needs to at least be a timeline like you have with taxes or with anything else, or
like
national
European
signing
soccer
day.
has a transfer window.
Yeah.
That's all I'm referring to, is just something similar, a transfer window.
And like, for example, pretty soon you watch somebody, this is going to happen. I know that there may be a rule against this. What about transferring in the middle of the season and going playing for somebody like Joey McGuire did in football as far as a coach who moves to Texas Tech? He didn't coach them, but he was involved. That's going to be the next thing. Somehow they'll push the envelope again. I'm not against players getting a lot because they got nothing forever and ever, but it just seems like college football, which has always needed a commissioner, needs somebody to maybe save itself.
I think a simple fix would be to apply deadlines, like you're talking about with the NFL free agency period, for instance. Or have 2 free agency periods, throughout the year. The transfer portal is open for 3 months here and 3 months there, and it's closed the rest of the time. In other words, you're not constantly shifting, moving, jumping around, making decisions that you're not maybe mature enough in a lot of cases to make. I think a free agency type thing would probably serve college football well, where you have a deadline. It doesn't start until this date, and then you have a deadline until that date. In Oklahoma's case, they got the kid from, not Mansfield, Texas, Lancaster, Texas, the running back out of LSU, Trey Bradford, transferred from LSU to Oklahoma in June, and then in basically August, transferred back. Or maybe it was July and August, halfway through training camp, right before the season opener. Everybody's looking forward to seeing, they've had him in training camp, and they were talking about how fast and explosive and dynamic he is, and all of a sudden he transfers back to LSU. That flies in the face and goes against the spirit of what the transfer portal should be about. And that is new opportunities, not, hey, I wonder what's happening over here. Hey, I wonder what's happening over here. Hey, I think I'll look at this. I think I'll look at that. That's not what the transfer portal should be about.
A lot of attention has been given to Caleb Williams, but they've had other attrition, as Craig mentioned, Rattler and others. But have they gained some of any of that back with the arrival of Venables and now the new coach that came in from Clemson?
Yeah, the answer to that will be known in the future. I don't think there's any question. We're going to have to wait and see. He's a first-time head coach. I think the perspective from inside the fan base, from in Oklahoma for sure, is that Lincoln Riley's last 2 years were not as good as Lincoln Riley's first 2 years when he had Baker and he had Tyler, right? They made the college football playoff and lost to the national champ, or lost to, in the one case, lost to the runner-up to Georgia. Those were really good Oklahoma teams, historically good Oklahoma offenses with unfortunately for them, historically bad Oklahoma defenses. So there was a thought that Oklahoma was trending better under Alex Grinch and some of the hires that Lincoln Riley made, and they're starting to get a little better, more complete football team. But the last 2 years, guys, they lost 2 back-to-back football games in the regular season for the first time since the John Blake era. And then this year they lose their streak. They don't even go back to the Big 12 championship game. So Oklahoma's been trending the last couple of years a little bit on the downward side. They've hit some, obviously Caleb Williams, Spencer Rattler. They've hit some guys in recruiting, 5-star receivers. But Venables brings in a defensive mindset, a more traditional kind of thinking in terms of, old school football coach. He's a little older than Lincoln. So I think the fan base is pretty convinced that, hey, things are getting better, not worse. Under Lincoln, things were getting worse. Again, I'd like to see that play out. Let's give it 3 years. Let's give it maybe 5 years and see how Brent, what kind of imprint he puts on the program. I know Brent, I've been on this beat long enough that he was still a young coordinator, a co-coordinator when I was started on the beat. So we have a relationship. I've gotten to know him pretty well over the years. I feel confident in saying that I do think, not trying to fall in with the fan base exactly, not in lockstep, I hope, but I do think there's some merit to that. The fact that this program lacked toughness and lacked defensive mindset, and lacked, short yardage, get under center and quarterback sneak for a yard when you need it. Caleb Williams notwithstanding, of course. I just think there's a new kind of grittiness and a toughness to the program under Brent Venables that wasn't here in the past 5 years.
John, what was it like? I know it's been a few days now, but what was it like to see the whole Bob Stoops experience there in the bowl game, the win, passing the cap to Venables in the post game? I mean, he looks like he's loving life. I see his son score a touchdown in a game that he's coaching. I mean, that was just awesome.
It was pretty neat. I got to say, as someone who's covered Bob Stoops almost since day one, since he's been here, it was pretty cool to see him step in and just kind of take, first of all, the day after Lincoln Riley left, right? Beyond being the interim coach and coaching the bowl game and doing all the things you just said, he had to talk to the fan base. He had to talk to the administration, who was a little bit unsure, at that moment. And he certainly had to talk to the players and the recruits. He went on a big, recruiting tour and basically hit everybody that they've talked to in the past year or got commitments from, at least. He was super busy, but he was a calming presence. He was the leader that you would expect a Hall of Fame college football coach to be. And that was something that the fan base really needed. I think if it wasn't for Bob Stoops, I think there would be a little bit more mode of panic right now. Bob has come in and calmed things down and looked around, and a week after Lincoln leaves, he looks at Brent and says, this is your guy. This is your next great coach. He's going to take you into the next century. That gave a lot of assurance to the fan base that everything's going to be okay. And then the 2 weeks that he was coaching the team and the week down in San Antonio where he actually got to be a coach again, I think he had a great time. He was, as we've said several times, he's hawking cigars and tequila, and he's doing TV, for Big Noon Kickoff on Fox. He's living his best life.
John, thank you, man. Appreciate your time. Good luck. I'm glad you tested negative. Now go get some rest and maybe some orange juice or something like that, or something. Something stiffer than that. That might help. Thanks, buddy.
Orange juice, chicken soup, and I've got my COVID certificate. I'm so proud.
There you go. Good for you. All right, that's John Hoover, SISooners.com, and also covers Oklahoma area with the sports animal in Tulsa. There's one note. Kansas State LSU is tonight. There's a bowl game. It's kind of weird. It's like stuck in there tonight. And then, of course, a week from yesterday is the Georgia-Alabama National Championship game. Also,